I remember one of my very first ever red carpets. I barely knew how to do an interview. And this reporter was like, so are you out? That was the way they phrased the question.
Wow.
I was like, oh, I don't really talk about my personal life. And he printed Urie hesitates. And that was when I realized, oh, sometimes it doesn't matter what you answer. They've already figured out what they're going to write.
Hi babes, how you doing? Welcome back to Josh Smith's Great Chat Show. And today we are joined by one of my OG idols, Michael Urie. You, of course, loved him in Ugly Betty just as much as I did. And now he's wowing us all over again in Shrinking on Apple TV. And boy, can this boy tell a story. He opens up about the hilarious interactions he's had with Harrison Ford that are going to have you on the floor. Plus what it was like going to drama school with Jessica Chastain. Great advice from Jessica coming right up. And plus what it's been like for him cracking Hollywood as an openly queer actor. So get ready for a great chat. Michael.
Hi.
Babes. Welcome to the Great Chat Show.
It's such a pleasure to be here.
This
Thank
feels
you.
like a really big moment for younger me, I have to say, who grew up in the middle of nowhere watching Ugly Betty.
Oh, really?
And babe, you were my hero. And now you're here.
Josh.
Living and breathing. It's it's insane. It's one of those weird moments where you take a step back and you're like, whoa, if like younger me was in this seat right now, there would be shook F.
I think it was a bigger hit here than it was in America.
Really?
Yeah. Back in the day when I came here during the run of the show,
Yeah.
I couldn't go anywhere.
You were mobbed, like the Beatles.
The most famous I've ever been was during that period. And when I'm here now, people still want to talk about Ugly Betty. And also what's interesting here is it's like all walks of life. Like I had a black taxi driver who was chatting me up.
Oh.
Wow. No, but not in that sense.
Oh.
Sorry.
Because chatting up here means that you're like
Flirting
with someone.
I'm sorry. Okay. I'm sorry.
Just to
That's
make
not what
that
he was.
clear.
He wasn't doing that. He was like, so what are you in fashion or something? I was like, no, not really. I'm an actor. And then he really perked up. He was kind of mean to me. And then he really perked up. And I said that, and he said, what would I know you from? And that is like sometimes a kiss of death.
Oh, God, yeah.
When someone says, what would I know you from?
And then because
I'm
you
like,
have to be like this and that. And they're like,
no.
no.
And then he knew Ugly Betty right away. He didn't know Shrinking. I told him that, and he'd heard of it, but he hadn't seen it. And then Ugly Betty, and he was like, then he really looked at me in the mirror, and he was like, oh yeah. And then he kept like dancing around the adjectives to describe what I was like on the show.
Oh my God, I'm obsessed.
But basically, he described me as younger and gayer than I appeared in the back of his taxi. And he really loved the show. And other kinds of people will come up to me here, and I'm like, whoa, what's going on? And then it'll be Ugly Betty, and I'll be like, oh wow, because in America it's women, gay men, and then like Latinos, because there was because the Betty of it all was like so huge for them. And if you're a gay female Latina,
Oh wow,
you definitely love me. You definitely remember me. You definitely love me.
It's always good to know where your niche is.
Yes.
It's always good to know where your supporters are, babe.
Yeah.
We're all about chats that matter on this show.
Yeah.
But what is the topic on your mind right now, babe?
Well, right now, my London chat starter is, do we like the new prime minister?
Oh wow, we're going there.
Well, it's so interesting to me because and I'm only here for 3 weeks, so I'm hoping we get one more while I'm here.
You never know.
We might.
It's happened before, babe. The turnaround is quick.
I didn't know this was all going to be happening when I got here, and then I got into it, and I started to get really interested, and then I was like, oh wait, it's labor to labor, and that was surprising to me, and that he wasn't in Parliament at all.
No, babe, he made a real comeback.
It's so wide. It's really exciting.
Are there any other key conversation starters you like leaning into, babe?
So that's my
It's your topical one.
Recent London amongst the locals. But I like when I see somebody that I know very well and that I see regularly. I like, what'd you do today? Like if it's at night, what'd you do today?
Yeah.
Or what are you doing tomorrow? I like those kinds of simple, what's what's life like for you right now?
Yeah.
Because we're close. I know the ins and outs of you. This is for like my good friends. I know the ins and outs of you. I know your big wants and needs and fears and regrets. But what's today like, and what's tomorrow like? I think that is always really illuminating about a person. But I will also say, like, in terms of old friends, like really old friends, because I have these guys are in a group of friends I have. There's like 6 of us, and we go way back. Some high school, some community college, some like our 20s in New York. And when we get together, sometimes we don't. Sometimes there's stretches where we don't say anything. And then there are times when I laugh harder than I laugh with anyone else. And there is something like really beautiful about both of those things. Like, because I've also been in situations where I'm like, oh gosh, I don't know what to say next. I mean, you probably aren't like this. You probably
I can talk to a brick wall, babe. Literally, and feel like I'm getting a response.
You're never without something to say.
No, never.
Yeah, I'm in situations sometimes where I'm like, what do I say now? Now what can we talk about?
Yeah. Digging deep.
And you want to like pull something out. But with this group of friends, sometimes we're just great to like just be with each other. And then other times we cannot stop laughing.
Which is the best.
Oh, it's the best.
It's when people
Old
like
friends are
soul
great.
food,
Oh.
That's the best. Like, I have a best friend in my life. Whenever I go and see her, we don't see each other all the time. It's just like the wine's out. The emotions are pouring out.
Yeah.
The laughing's out. We're just having a great time and locked into spending that time together, which is such a special thing to do, which we don't really do that much because we're so hyper-connected all the time.
Yes.
And we're so distracted.
Right.
That actually making time for like special time with your friends is the most important thing you can do, especially for me with my soul. I'm like, I know when I need it.
Totally. Like, like you have friends that you like text every day.
Oh, yeah.
But you don't see them.
Oh, my God. People are lucky to get a text back these days. I'm so bad at it, babe.
Oh, you're not good at
Oh, terrible.
Oh, I'm good at
I'm an error.
Oh, I'm sorry?
An error. That's what I call it. When you like air people.
AIRER?
Yeah. Aired.
Aired. Means like leaving them on.
Yeah, leaving them on like either not read or read.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I don't. Do you have your messages on read?
Oh, yeah.
You let people see if you've read it?
Yeah, because I'm
Oh,
not
I
that.
don't.
You do not do
Oh,
that.
no, I'm way too controlling.
Oh, no. I'm like, it's okay.
You can know that I read this.
You know that I read it
and didn't respond.
No, because I just get so distracted.
Wow.
It's not a bitchy thing. It's just like
You know who left me on read the other day?
Who?
Harrison Ford.
What?
I wished him a happy birthday.
And you didn't reply?
No.
Did he read it?
It said he did. He left me on read.
Wow. I imagine that Harrison Ford gets a lot of people wishing him happy birthday.
Okay.
So maybe he's just, because sometimes after the birthday there's a lot of admin, right? And you had to reply. So maybe he's just getting around to replying. How long have you been aired for?
I mean, it's been it was like last week, I guess, maybe 2 weeks ago.
Okay, so 2 weeks.
When I congratulated him on being nominated for an Emmy, he wrote right back.
Maybe he's going through something at the minute, babe. Maybe he's taking some time out.
Maybe he doesn't like birthdays.
You're going to have to bring this up as soon as you see him on set.
I will. Hey.
Hello.
Hey. What the hell, man?
Was it just a happy birthday, or did you put some? Like,
I said,
real
I'm glad
effort
you're
into it?
born. I love you. I mean, I'm sure it was very sweet,
I'm
wasn't
dying that you messaged Harrison Ford.
It wasn't just
saying,
HBD. It was, it was like a sweet message.
I'm glad you were born.
84 years ago.
84 years ago. I mean,
I am very glad he was born.
Yeah, I mean, are we
it's
all?
terrific.
What a cinematic legend.
Oh, the best.
You must have had some great chats with him on the set. Is there one that stuck out for you?
I got him to talk about Star Wars a little bit.
Oh, wow.
Which is rare. Because I was coming here and I said, what do I was like, what should I do in London? And he was like, he gave me some suggestions of restaurants and stuff. And then he was like, and I was like, where do you stay when you're in London? And he was like, well, the first time when I went for Star Wars, I was in somebody's attic. But then the next time I had a nice house, and,
We've all got to start somewhere, babe.
Yeah.
I mean, speaking of legends, we do need to pick up on Ugly Betty for 2.2 seconds because it is its 20th anniversary this year.
Can you believe that?
And babe, you haven't aged a day.
That's
Let's
not
be real.
Thank you. That's not
You
true.
look great.
You have good lighting here.
Oh, we like to supply.
the
We're
greatest chat
delivering.
ever.
But I actually wanted to take it back to your beginnings because that really launched your career on such a massive
for
level.
sure.
Can you remember you going into that audition for the first time, and what was that audition like?
Oh yes. Well, I had to beg to get an audition.
You begged?
I had to beg my own reps
Really?
So the thing was, when I got out of drama school, all I wanted to do was like theater. All I wanted to do was Shakespeare.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get any.
Mm.
And then suddenly I was like doing really well on this pilot, and my reps were really excited. I had agents, but they, like, and all I really wanted to do was go like play Romeo and stuff, and it wasn't happening. And I was doing little downtown, like, some jobs for no money, some jobs for $100 a week, and in basements, and then I started doing well on this pilot, and they were like, they like you for this pilot, and I ended up getting it and doing a pilot, like a main role in a pilot. Then the next year, my reps were like, great, now you're going to LA for pilot season and you're really gonna hunker down. And I was like, great. Didn't get anything. And then the next year I was like, not doing that again. I'm gonna take jobs. I'm just gonna do whatever. I don't care if it's only, $200 a week. I wanna work. I wanna be an actor. I wanna work. And so I started to get, like things here and there, some fun, exciting things. I was starting to like build the kind of work that I'd wanted to do when I got out of drama school. And I was doing this like crazy Jacobean tragedy in a basement. And this as you do. And this casting director stopped me. And it was like kind of a like weird, we set it in a weird place. It was really, really bloody, and I kind of looked like David Bowie, and I was this evil sort of flamboyant, and it was awesome. Oh, so awesome. And this casting director stopped me in the lobby, who I'd met, and he really liked what I did. And I was like, clock that, file that away.
Yeah.
I saw this breakdown for this show, and there was a character named Marc, and the only description was bitchy gay assistant. That was
you were like,
all it said.
I've got the skills.
And I was like, that's me.
That's me.
That's me. And it was the same casting director who'd just seen me as
Oh my God, just by coincidence.
David Bowie thing. Yeah. So I told my reps, I was like, hey, there's this part that I think I could get an audition for. At this point, I'm like, I think I could get seen for this. Now, it was a co-star, not a series regular like my last pilot, not a guest star, a co-star. And they were like, well, no, you do series regular roles. You don't do guest star roles, and you definitely don't do co-star roles. And I was like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Right now, I don't do anything. I just need a job.
I gotta pay my rent.
Yeah, I just need a job, and this will pay my rent for, this will pay my rent like 2 months at least.
Yeah.
And they were like, no, we don't think so. We don't think you should. So they got me the audition. And I went in, and then I think I had 3 auditions. And I think after my second audition, maybe the first one was just for Will, and then the next one was for Will and Terry Weinberg, one of the producers. And then the third one was going to be for Will and Terry and Silvio Orta, the show's creator. And they were filming them every time. And between the second and third, my friend Liz Kaplow called me, and she was like, babe, are you auditioning for something right now? And I was like, yeah, I'm in the mix, or I've got a call back. And she's like, yeah, right, I know about it. My friend's the casting director. Okay, cool. And she's like, listen, you need to wear a suit to this audition. Oh. And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, they need to see you in a suit. And I was like, why? And she's like, this is a show about fashion. And she was like, you need to wear a suit. Do you have a suit? And I was like, I can get a suit. I'll get a suit. So I went and spent like my last pennies on a suit, and I wore this, like Donna DKNY clearance sale rack suit that didn't fit me properly, but I went in there, and it did the trick.
Wow.
Yeah.
There are so many iconic scenes in Ugly Betty, but one that I feel needs to be discussed is you got to work with one of the most underrated actresses of our time.
Gene Simmons. Sorry. No.
Victoria Beckham.
Victoria Beckham.
Because I'm sorry, if you've not seen Spice World the movie, you're missing out on an Oscar nominee because the acting is phenomenal.
She was very sweet. She was very sweet.
Can you tell me what that day was like?
It was cool. David was there. The kids were there. The kids loved me.
I mean, who wouldn't?
We had a blast. She was very sweet. She was very nervous.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah. And you know who else was there? Vera Wang was there.
Yes, she was, because she designed a wedding dress.
It was a crazy scene. It was crazy.
It's one of the maddest things I think I've ever seen on TV.
But she was very nice. And I thought it was very sweet. The whole family was there.
Cheering her on.
Yeah.
You got this, babe.
Yeah, because they were really big then.
Oh, yeah. Did you ever see the documentary she did called Victoria Beckham Going to America?
No.
I'm going to send you some clips from it.
Great.
Because you're going to be deceased. There is a video of her getting her driving license and having like a full team of makeup artists around her doing it. And she's like asking the DVA, whatever it's called in America, do you do touch-ups?
No. But
Whilst also having lip gloss applied to her by an assistant.
so she was kind of like one of the original reality
Yeah.
stars.
But she was also acting.
Right.
Phenomenal.
Like
She really missed out on her talent there, I feel.
she was really sweet and really cute. And Vera Wang I really liked hanging out with Vera Wang. She was very cool.
I mean, she's fabulous.
Vera Wang was very funny though. Like, cause Victoria Beckham, I call her Posh. She was really trying to be an actor. Like she was like, and then what do I do? You know, she was like really serious. And Vera Wang didn't know what
was going
on. And like couldn't say a line like a normal human being to save her life. She was so cool, and she was like having a blast, but she was like, is this it? Are we rolling now? She would like,
we're mid-scene.
I'm like, shut up. They're talking over there. You're supposed to now it's your turn. Now it's your turn. What? And then she would say a line, and it didn't sound like a human being at all. It's so funny sometimes because I guess I'm so like used to acting and being around actors. When somebody acts and it's like, oh, that's what you think acting is. Martha Stewart was on Ugly Betty.
Oh my God, was she?
Yeah, she had one tiny little part on
God,
Ugly
she
Betty.
was in that.
Yeah.
What was her acting skills like?
She had a talk show at the time, and they went to her talk show, used her cameras, and it was the scene where Wilhelmina calls Martha Stewart on the phone, and she answers it from the set of her talk show, which was a kitchen basically, and it was like 3 lines. It was like, I need a recipe or something like that, and she like must have done it like on a commercial break from her own talk show. And many years later, I hosted a reality competition show that Martha was a judge on.
Oh, wow. Full circle.
And on the first day, you know, between things, she was like, so tell me about you, Michael. What have you done? And I knew we had that connection. So I was like, well, I used to be on that show, Ugly Betty. And she, thinking I would have to remind her that she was on it because it took a minute of her life. And she goes, I was on Ugly Betty. And I was like, yes, I know you were. And she's like, I still get checks.
What?
And there's a thing called residuals.
Yeah.
You know, you guys probably have them too. Like if you're in something and it keeps making money over the years, you get checks. And so I get checks for Ugly Betty still.
Thank God.
Which is really nice.
As you deserve.
Yes. And, you know, there's been years where that's really helpful. And they're okay. Sometimes they're better than others. But I was in every episode. She was in one episode.
So Martha Stewart is still earning money from her cameo in Ugly Betty.
It's like not only is she still getting money for that, she's aware of that.
So it must be chunky.
It can't be chunky. There's no way it's chunky.
Or is she just so detailed on the accounts?
It's that.
She knows.
I think it's that.
God.
And I was like, God, I need to pay more attention to my own money because I
mean, babe, I don't know what's going in. I don't know what's going out.
It's like
I use my card and I cross my fingers sometimes.
Of course, I didn't go to jail for financial crimes. So
maybe that's why she has to be really clear about where it is now.
If I'd gone to jail for financial crimes, maybe I would be a little bit more aware of the money coming in and going out. But she was cool, though. Yeah. I liked her.
Babe, do you know what I've loved about chatting to you so far is I had no idea where this chat was going to go today, and I did not expect that Martha Stewart was going to be entering the chat, and I'm so here for it. Babes, we're just going to pause our great chat with Michael Urie to remind you to subscribe wherever you're watching or listening to this podcast. And one of the things I do love about Ugly Betty is it really starts some important conversations about diversity on screen.
Oh, yeah.
And
it's ahead of its time.
It's so ahead of its time.
Yeah.
And when you think about it, you were one of the first prominent out gay characters on TV.
Yeah.
And when you think about the global impacts of that, even on like little me, who was growing from that little village, it's incredible. But after you finished that show, was there a conversation you had afterwards which maybe showed you we hadn't really made the progress you thought we had?
Yeah, well, there were a few older actors that attempted to take me under their wing and encourage me to not continue playing roles like that. And I don't mean roles as specific. I mean, that was such a very specific role, an out gay, evil, fashionable. Like there was so many toady of a, sycophant. There was so many like I didn't want to play that again. But the idea that I shouldn't play gay anymore was like they did not hesitate to tell me not to do any more gay roles. And that was crazy. I thought that was kind of weird. And nobody ever encouraged me to like stay in a closet. That wasn't something at that point. It was very much up to me. And I was like, I don't know. Because at first I didn't know how long the show was going to last. And nobody was out. The only people who were out of the closet then were Ellen DeGeneres, who wasn't really an actor. I mean,
she got forced out as well.
And got forced out. Neil Patrick Harris, who kind of got forced out and had the benefit of being on TV playing like a womanizer. And so it like sort of made that whole thing kind of
okay in some people's eyes.
Yeah, there was something like, but they kind of forced him out. And obviously he did incredibly well. It was not good for Ellen. She was sort of kicked out of Hollywood for a while. And then she came back and had her talk show. And then, of course, there were in the theater there were people that were out, but the big stars in the theater weren't out yet. And I thought this show, like, what if this show doesn't last and I want to like be anonymous again? I don't want this to be a defining characteristic. And there was a guy, I remember one of my very first ever red carpets. I'd barely done a red carpet. I barely knew how to do an interview, and this reporter was like, "So, are you out?" That was the way they phrased the question.
Wow.
And I was like, "Oh, I don't really talk about my personal life." And he printed his question and then my hesitation. He printed that Urie hesitates, stutters and stammers, and finally says he doesn't talk about his. So it's like, and that was when I realized, sometimes it doesn't matter what you answer. They've already figured out what they're going to write. But then I realized, like, everybody's like, you're going to get typecast as gay. And I'm like, well, I was already typecast as gay before I was out of a closet. And as soon as I realized, like, there's all these different kinds of roles I can play, even within the gay spectrum, then it was, I didn't care about talking publicly about my queerness and coming out of the closet and all that stuff. But yeah, there's some weird conversations.
But it's also so reductive to say that to someone, isn't it?
So silly.
To say like, oh, stop playing gay roles. Like there's only one type of gay.
Yeah, exactly.
Like gays are very multifaceted.
Oh yeah.
They come in all shapes and sizes,
Oh,
babe.
absolutely.
Like just open your eyes.
Yeah.
And it says more about that person and having such a reductive view on queer people, doesn't it?
Well, yes. And a limited idea of what was possible on TV for a queer person. Because, and at the time, to their credit, there weren't a lot of different kinds of gay people. Like I was kind of a successor to Jack on Will and Grace.
Yeah.
What I was doing was, different. It was a different genre, kind of. We were doing, that was like a sitcom, and ours was more of like a dramedy. We went to darker places sometimes and campier places sometimes, and it sort of like wasn't always so real. And that was more like, here's these four amazing characters in different adventures every week. Ours, we were growing and changing a little bit. But I mean, at the time, certainly that's all people would say was like, you filled the void of Will and Grace for us, which was a compliment. It took us as a huge compliment. But it was like we sort of followed in footsteps as opposed to like changed, we changed something by making the characters more well-rounded, I think, by going to, like showing what Marc's mother was like.
Yes. Showing depth to the characters.
Showing Marc's relationships. The relationships could be realer on our show. So we definitely like pushed. But if somebody were to look at it in the reductive way, they might only see, oh, well, that's the same guy. You're playing the same guy that guy played, and the next guy's going to play that guy too. And like, that's all there's going to be, and that's all you're going to do. And yeah, that would have been bad. But that's not just because they're gay. That's because that's what we're allowed to do right now. And now we're allowed to do a lot more
Yeah.
stuff. There's a lot of us.
There's a lot of us, babe, and there's
There's
a lot
a-
of representation that's needed.
Yeah.
Which is true. Well, it's come to the part of the show, babe, where sometimes I bring out a photo that is an image of a conversation that is happening. Babe, can you talk me through this photo?
Oh,
I was so impressed with my own research skills when I found this. I'm not going to lie.
wow.
What is happening in this photo, babe?
That is me and Jessica Chastain in Sir Patient Fancy, a restoration comedy by Afra Ben that we did in our 4th year at Juilliard. And I played her lover. And she was married to Sir Patient Fancy, and we were scheming to get his money.
How do you
And-
feel looking at this picture?
Oh,
now?
I love this picture. I love her so much. And we got to work together so much in school. We did this together. She was my mother in The Seagull. We played husband and wife in a new play. We were brother and sister, I think, in The Grapes of Wrath. We got to do so many different things. And then we did scenes in class together. We did Hamlet and Ophelia.
Oh my God, amazing.
And she looks exactly the same.
Babe, I think you both look exactly the same, minus the wigs.
Yeah, but you can see there that my nose has gotten bigger.
I don't think it has. Your
But
nose
also,
is perfect.
the wigs were red. She has red hair, obviously, but we were both in red wigs, and all the wigs matched who you were, fucking. So we both had red wigs. The blonde, the young lovers had the blonde wigs, and there was the black hair people were the other family. It was so fun.
Can you remember a great chat that you had with Jessica during this time?
Oh, so many.
Well, at Juilliard.
We would talk about like what we wanted to do. There were some people who were like, I want to be in movies, or I want to be on sitcoms, or I was like, I want to do Shakespeare and the regions. And she would be like, I'd like to do French films. I was like, whoa.
Wow. Oui, oui, bonjour.
And you know what? That's kind of what she's doing. When people ask me, like, is she different now than she was then? I always say, no, she was always a movie star. She was a movie
Turn
star.
up and you're like, you're a movie star, hon.
Yeah, she was a movie star 2nd year Juilliard.
Yeah.
Like, she was always just, like, smart and driven and like a leader and generous and cool. She's just, like, cool as fuck. You want to know some really great advice I got from Jessica Chastain?
Go on, tell me.
White wine will get red wine out of carpet.
Practical.
If you spill red wine on carpet, which I did at her apartment, you can use white wine to get it out.
Babe,
Yeah.
obsessed.
Can you believe that?
Because also another thing I found was this playbill, which I was obsessed with.
Oh,
Have
yes.
you seen this?
Of course.
Babe, there's you.
There's
There's
me.
Chastain. And then Luke McFarlane.
There he is. Lukey Pukey.
Babe,
Yeah.
so many hotties in your year.
Yeah.
If you could go back now and sit down with this you, what
Oh.
would you want to say to them?
I would probably say you're much cuter now than you think you are. Because every time I see myself then, I'm like, oh, I was so cute. Because I never thought that then. But when if I look back at Ugly Betty, I'm like, look at that, he's so cute, that little evil twink. He was such a cutie.
And you got to hold on to that twink phase as long as possible, babe.
Yes, and it's long gone. But now I'm like, okay, I'm like okay with it all. But like because as you see, Luke McFarlane was Mr. Beauty, and there's a lot of guys on the other page who were really good looking, and at that time it was being made very clear to all of us who was good looking and who wasn't.
Wow.
That was a big thing back then at that time, and maybe it still is now for people when they're getting out of school. And I remember one time I asked my managers to audition for a particular role in a play that was happening. It was like one of the young men in Measure for Measure or something like that. And they were like, oh, they're looking at one of our other clients. That's who they're probably going to go with. And I'm like, oh, well, could I get in the mix too? And they're like, well, Michael, he's hot. You're cute, but he's hot. And I remember that was really hard to hear.
Wow.
That like, right, okay. And I get it. Like, I get it. But it was hard. And Luke, Luke is a great actor, and he really has the goods. And I think it took him by surprise as much as anybody. Because he was just like, he's kind of a goofball, and he would read the Science Times every Tuesday and play his cello, and then suddenly everyone's like, no, you're the hottest guy I've ever seen. Please work with us. And he was like, what? Oh. And he's done such smart things with his career with that and made such interesting choices. But yeah, I guess I would say actually the fact that you're not hot is going to be better for you in the long run. Probably.
Why do you think that?
Because now I'm old, or I got older, and that didn't like change. Nothing. I didn't like outgrow anything. If anything, I grew into something. I mean, all the things that like young me was told might hold me back, or I told myself might hold me back, were actually my superpowers.
And babes, your superpowers are fully fledged and on screen in Shrinking. If you haven't watched Shrinking yet, head to Apple TV, babes, because you're missing out. It follows Jason Segel's character, who's a grieving therapist, and Michael plays his best friend, Brian. It is so incredible. It covers so many important topics. And one of the things it covers, clearly, is mental health.
Totally, yeah.
And I think, especially with queer people, we don't talk about mental health enough, and we're statistically more likely to suffer from ill mental health. Is there a time you can really remember opening up and it really helping you?
The person that comes to mind that was really there for me during the Ugly Betty years. Well, it was such a good group of people, and no two of us were alike, and we had these incredible elders on that show in Tony Plana, who was Betty's dad, and Vanessa, and Alan Dale, who was Daniel's dad, Bradford Mead. And then Judith Light came on the show, and she's such an earth mother. And Vanessa's, her kids were always around, and she was such a mother, and she was always like, come to my trailer, I got some swag from da-da-da, whatever. And those four people especially, and then some of the people on the crew and directors and stuff that would come along, they were very, very clear with us that it was special, and it wasn't always special like this, and that we couldn't take it for granted, and that not only were we doing a show that was popular with people, but it was a show that we could be proud of, and we enjoyed each other and the work. So like to have all of those things, the work is good, the people are good, it's something you can be proud of, and audiences like it. That's really rare. And I've got it now. I'm having that again. Like that's exactly what's happening again on Shrinking. No two of us are alike. The work is great. I'm really proud of what we're putting out, and people like it. And so there were a lot of conversations during Ugly Betty. Some of them with Vanessa, like how do I walk a red carpet? How do I do an interview? Can we do this one together? And will you show me how to do it? And America was a little bit younger than us, but the wisest one on set. I mean, I probably got more advice from America Ferrera than anyone directly, because we were so close in age. We actually also kind of knew each other before. We had mutual friends, and she was the one who was like, you need to get a publicist. And you got to get new agents. And, she was like, she would listen to me like, I would be like, okay, what do I do now? What do you do now when you're famous or when you're in a magazine? And now what am I supposed to do? And what am I supposed to do with all this money I'm making? And she'd be like, okay, you got to get this, you got to do this, you got to do that. And she was younger than I was.
So you are making your West End debut.
Yes.
Iconic.
Yeah. I love talking about the theater.
You light up when you talk about it.
I love the theater. Yeah.
Love it.
I think it's very special.
And the theater loves you, babe.
Oh.
So go see Oh Mary when it's in theatres, please. I want to know, what is the biggest difference between UK and US audiences? Because when I spoke to Jodie Comer about this, because she transferred her play from Prima Facie into America.
Yeah.
And she was like, they're really rowdy.
In America.
Prepare yourself. They're rowdy.
They're rowdy.
They're a bit less respectful than, say, like the UK audience.
I would say bordering on selfish.
Oh, really?
Yes. And I am part of the problem. When I'm in an audience, I do this too. An American audience wants you to know how much they like it, even if that means disrupting the proceedings. I would say we were told to be prepared when we came here to do the play that the responses might not be as much. And what they are, it's the same amount of responses. It's just not the same length of responses. So, like, in America, when they, like, because it's a really funny play.
Yeah.
And people laugh.
Oh, it's
like,
10 out. It's my favorite play probably of all time.
Is
I'm
it?
going to say. Because I saw Mason Alexander Park on it because we had
Brilliant.
Mason on the show.
Brilliant.
Go back and listen to that episode. It's incredible. We really dive into O'Mary on that. But it is the biggest laugh out loud thing I've ever seen.
Oh,
I thought I was going to wet myself.
It is.
The
that
rows
funny.
were shaking with laughter.
Yeah.
And that is not me being exaggerating.
Yeah. It is that funny. And there's one part in the show where I swear I've not been in it when someone doesn't literally scream. There's this one thing that happens that I can't say, but it happens literally every night. Someone goes, ah, and just screams with laughter every night. But in America, they're a little harder to rein in. And here, it's like huge burst of laughter, and then they're quiet, which is great.
We've been chatting Cathy's today, so we've only got time to open up the group chat to a couple of questions.
Okay.
But I do need to know, babe, are you a group chat person?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You enjoy them?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I like a group chat.
Do you have a shrinking group chat?
Yeah.
Does
We do.
Harrison Ford still air you in the group chat? In that one?
There was a great one. Actually, it was a period of the group chat where Ted McGinley had this hilarious bit going where he was like, we're all going to go over to Harrison's and watch movies. Watch Harrison movies. We're all going to go watch Harrison's movies at his house.
Iconic.
And he kept like naming movies, and it was so funny. And Harrison didn't respond. And people were like, Ted, that's enough. Stop it. Harrison doesn't want to do this. Da, 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 da. And then, like, out of nowhere, Harrison just wrote, I moved.
So he's not saying, he's like basically saying, I'm not doing this. I moved house to stop you coming over and watching the movies at my house.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't believe that happened.
It was so funny. But also it was like, oh, he's been reading them all. He's read this he's been monitoring this chat the whole time. It was so sweet.
So he really does love to air.
Yes, he does. He likes the power.
Having something so in common with Harrison Ford, and I never thought I would be able to say that. And this is actually one of the questions that came in, which I love. This is from Jen. And she wants to know, what is the nichest thing on your CV you would love to wipe from it for good? Because there is one thing on your CV that I think is so iconic.
Oh, you have one that you would cut out.
I wouldn't cut it because I think it should be probably pushed up. Because apparently you were in Uptown Girls.
Yeah.
With Brittany Murphy.
I was.
And baby Dakota Fanning, credited as a pig walker.
Yeah, the pig walker. Technically, he was a dog walker, but she had a pet pig. And so, you know, he took her pig with the dogs. And so my scene was, I showed up at her door with like 6 dogs on leashes and took a pig from, she was like, here you go. Thanks, babes. And I took the pig and I had like 2 lines and it got cut. But you know what's crazy? Speaking of Martha Stewart residuals, I still get residuals from that job.
No, you don't.
Yeah, like 6 cents a year or something.
Babe, 6 cents. This economy.
I have to file my taxes every year. Is that nuts?
You have to explain to your accountant you'll still get residuals for playing a pig walker.
That's so funny. And they go to like my old roommate who still lives there. Every year he's like, I got your tax return again.
For your 6 cents.
Because I'm not in the movie, but I was on the DVD in the
Oh.
deleted scenes.
Babe, I have to say, I've had the greatest chat with you.
Oh, thanks.
It's been so
It was
great
so
listening and
nice.
chatting to you.
Yeah.
So many stunning stories.
Yeah.
So much food for thought.
Yeah.
It's been so fab.
Thank
you,
you.
babe.
You too. This is such a great show.
Oh my God, stop putting it at the top. Babes, as you can see from Michael's episode, I get so much out of my guests. They give me range. So if you want to make sure you never miss a great chat, make sure you subscribe or follow wherever you're watching or listening right now. Or hunt me down on socials at Josh Smith's Great Chat Show, where you can be added to our group chat so you can get to know who our guests are first before anyone else. And you also get to ask your hard-hitting, burning questions of our guests too. And I'll see you next time for a great chat.